matters leading to the employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? You're all in favor? It's going to... Good.
I don't have a second.
Okay, everyone, we're coming back from executive session. And to start off with, we're going to turn it over to our superintendent for internet safety presentation.
So you guys are really lucky you get to hear me talk for 30 seconds, hopefully. Internet safety has to be done every year by state ed. So when we look at it, it's, let me turn this on. It's what are we doing to keep kids safe on the internet? So there's email, how do we protect email, keep it protected with the filters. Nothing has changed since last year. Internet access, again, nothing has changed since last year with our filtering systems and catching it. We do get reports of people going to inappropriate sites that are all looked into and sent to. Network access, password complexity is increasing to 16 characters. I don't know what it was at before, I'll say 8. I am not looking forward to remembering 16 characters. It changes every 3 months, and I know there'll be a lot of growing pains with that. Multi-factor authentication, that is something new. I already have it at my level, but for all faculty and staff, that is a new change. The next two are the same, and MFA for Envision Access. What is that? Basically, dual authentication for our finance system. It's a different one than the first bullet, but they're really the same multi-factor authentication to keep all the digital, nothing to do with students, but all your money safe and staff information. Internet safety policy has not changed. And a quick thing, I would say the little bullet indented, everyone should use appropriate behavior. If not, our filters find it and we take appropriate action. Ed Law 2D is still the same law about what we can have out there and having reports and agreements about the safety of all information on our system. Whoops, did that. Thank you. Any questions?
I do actually have one.
Go ahead, because we got Paul here to help me.
So for the internet safety, has anything changed from like an AI perspective?
Nothing's changed from AI right now, no.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But AI might be telling me I'm wrong soon, so.
Okay, all right.
Anything else? Thank you for that time.
We're about to begin our regular meeting. Welcome to all who have come to observe the meeting of the Iroquois Central School District Board of Education. There are 2 periods of recognition of guests listed on the meeting agenda. The first is for comments regarding agenda items. The second is for topics not on the agenda. Speakers may offer comments related to school operations and programs, but the board cannot hear personnel comments concerning any individual associated with the school system. Please address these comments to the appropriate administrator. If you wish to be recognized, please fill out the appropriate form and turn it to the district clerk. As per policy 1514, public participation at board meetings, public comment by district residents is limited to 15 minutes total unless the board suspends this limit. Each person is given up to 3 minutes. I apologize. Each person is given up to 3 minutes in which to address the board. Additionally, no more than 3 people may speak on a single topic unless the board also waives this limitation. This is a meeting held in public rather than a public meeting, which means we will not engage in a dialogue with members of the community this evening. Did I skip something there? I'm having a tough time today. I apologize. This is a meeting held in public rather than a public meeting, which means we will not be engaging in dialogue with members of the community this evening. District personnel will follow up with you regarding your concerns. Rest assured we are listening carefully and take seriously what you have to say. Please demonstrate respect by speaking to the issues, sharing ideas and opinions, but not engaging in personal attacks. The board appreciates your willingness to share your concerns and celebrations. Please be advised this meeting is being streamed live and recorded, and the recording will be posted on the Iroquois website. Sorry about that, guys.
We're doing CTLA in the elementary?
Yeah, I think I'm going to attend that. Okay, we are going to move on to board discussion and news we're sharing. I just want to start off by stating that the October work session that was scheduled for October 16th has been changed to Monday, October 28th at 6 p.m. in the STEM room. Now we will go to one of our SR officers, Chad Berry, to present the Sandy Hook Promise.
So good evening, everybody. So I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys all know about the Sandy Hook program, right? So just a brief overview. The Sandy Hook Say Something program, it's a anonymous program that's established in the schools, and to report any kind of possible life-threatening situation, whether it be kids, adults, you know, whatever be. And it's anonymous, and it's really cool that the kids have access to reporting these incidents, whether it be via their cell phone, on their notebook, or on a landline. And a lot of times when, you know, it's late at night, when they shouldn't be on their phone, they're kind of scrolling on their phone, they see something that's not right, they're able to text this Sandy Hook dispatcher, which would kind of get the ball rolling on some kind of preventative, what should I say?
Basically, it winds up being another tool, right? We still, when we speak to our students, we tell them this is another tool that we have. We're not looking to replace the trusted adult in your life. Right. If it's your mom, your dad, could be the bus driver, could be somebody at school, could be your SRO, could be your counselor, whoever it is, we still want you to use your trusted adult. If it's an emergency situation, we talk about the difference between just being able to report an incident versus an emergency situation, like when and where we call 911. We just tell them it's another tool. So if you're scrolling through or you receive something that's threatening, you may not feel comfortable waking up mom and dad at midnight to tell them about a situation going on. It's a 24/7, 365. We explain to them how it's used. We play a video. They use the same video nationwide, and I got to say, so far it's worked really well in our building.
We've had numerous incidents where. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, yep. We've had numerous incidents that's been reported through the Sandy Hook tip line, and
I think some of our fear when we talked, was it in January when I did the presentation, we went through the whole slide. I think we all had a little bit of fear. Are we going to get a high number of fake calls or swatting tips? Or I got to say, so far it's been really good. I'll give a brief overview without giving out details or names, but to date, one of our most recent ones been a life safety tip. Came through life safety, high school student. We've had two involving inappropriate photos. One I'd constitute as a sextortion. We've had two in the high school, one in the middle school. We've had 3 mental health, between 1 in the high school, 2 in the middle school. One was, I'll call it a vaping complaint. Basically wanted to say that there's somebody vaping, he's concerned about them. One, the only one, I don't want to say it's a fake one, but it was important to somebody. They wanted to check, this was like right near the end of summer, they wanted to know when the schedules would be posted in the portal. So that's as close as we've had to a fake.
Absolutely, right. Anonymous.
If we look at the overview of it since the inception of it here at Iroquois, we'll go back as last year we had a couple involving verbal abuse, drug use, concerns about adults. We had 2 of those, and then a couple of reckless behaviors. All are treated the same. They're all investigated. They're triaged, and the appropriate people then get involved, whether it's police, counselors, building team, district team. We always notify the parents, and then we follow up with any referrals or any additional follow-ups or counseling or whatever's needed based on that situation. To date, I'm glad to say that, you know, prior to this meeting, we now have all the high school and middle school students trained, and every year we have to do a refresher. That is done, and then this week, Aaron and Alex Ray trained the 5th graders on Monday, and then as early as today, we've finished up the 4th grade students. So to date, everyone on main campus is now trained. So far that this has really been working good, and I'm gonna go back to the life safety one. And it's hard to say without getting into all the details, but really textbook perfect. Came through, we were alerted. I contacted dispatch, realized that the appropriate police department was already involved. I contacted their dispatch. They're already en route on scene. We're on the phone with the parents right up until we were able to come to a resolution of the situation. So so far, it's really been working really good. We've gotten a lot of praise from it. Students are happy it's here. It's easy for them to find. It's on their tablets. They can download the app on their phone. They have the number. It's been a really good program.
And just reading on some of the things that we've accomplished, or the program has accomplished. You know, over 200,000 tips submitted through the Say Something program, 550 plus youth suicides prevented, right? 15 credible planned school shooting plots averted. 3,000 plus students helped during a mental health crisis, and over 4,300 Save Promise clubs have been established. And these Save Promise clubs, they're clubs that are established within the schools. And Miss Judy Slowick, she's like a pillar in this arena. So she meets every week in conjunction with the Diversity Club. During prep for the 5th grade MENA program, we were meeting Mondays and Tuesdays as well, while preparing for a presentation at the National Save Promise Club Youth Summit. And so Ms. Slowick, they secured a $1,000 travel grant and waiving of registration fees for 3 students and advisors to attend the National Save Promise Club Youth Summit in Charlotte, North Carolina of April this year. With additional fees supplemented by the district, Iroquois students presented a workshop on the 5th grade MENA program that was well attended and very well received. She held a fundraiser at the TSG barbecue at the end of last year to raise money for the Diversity Club and the Save Promise Club. So yeah, Miss Slowick is.
I really want to kind of piggyback on what he said. She puts so much work in. And when I say, I shouldn't just say she, because Judy and everyone in her club, and in the Diversity Club and the Save Promise Club, the amount of work and how helpful they've been in getting this up and going and spreading the word. They just had a big event at the high school. They've really been instrumental in making this successful. And it was nice that Sandy Hook reached out to make sure that we were going to try and apply for this grant. And when Judy put all the information together, she wound up winning the grant, getting the $1,000, and was able to attend it and send a few students. So her work didn't go unnoticed. There were speakers there, and I know she's keeping the momentum and hoping to be able to attend the summit this year as well. So we did want to make sure that we were able to bring that in. And the program she just did, start with hello, and then she's done that, and she just had another one about basically being a good person, right? So it's Students Against Violence Everywhere, and you commit that. She had all the pledges out there in the hallway. They're giving out candy, but she had hundreds of pledges signed, and they put a lot of work in trying to spread the word and getting the word out there, what they do, and really more information about the tip line, but knowing that there's people out there to support you and support your friends, your students. And so thank you to Judy and her clubs on this as well. Do you have any questions on the tip line? I think so far the training, the fact that it's not being abused, it's being used for what it was designed to be used for. I think technology, the way that the website's been redone, we have the Say Something button right on the homepage of the Iroquois website. It's real easy to find so far. I don't want to say flawlessly, but it's working really well. Any questions on that?
I don't know if I have a question. I just want to make a quick statement. I feel that, the Sandy Hook promise that, the SROs are doing, and the fact that, the SROs have been first responders their whole entire career, that they are doing that here at Iroquois, and they are, it's a very valuable service to the staff and the students. And I especially appreciate the way the relationship you guys have built with the students. They trust you. Which is extremely important, and you head off a lot of things before they become serious. And it's other things that people don't realize. You've been watching this for a while. Even at the sporting events, when your officers are there, when parents get a little excited about a bad call or something, just the fact that if a coach or the athletic director has to talk to the parent, your presence, it goes in a totally different direction than it would have in the past. So I do want to, thank you and commend you for that. The other thing that's not a huge deal, I really think the uniform would be cool if it had like a Red Hawk right here. Because they are like the doorway to our community, and everyone sees them first. And I know it's a small thing, but I really think that would be cool if we could.
So it is funny you bring it up, and I'll spend like 20 seconds on it. So I actually did just have a meeting this week with Mr. Wolski, talking about that and changing our shirts, getting rid of the initial logos. We knew, like the inception of our program, we knew that there might be a change forthcoming, so it was a pretty generic logo. So we are looking to have Iroquois or SRO and then the Red Hawk. Basically, like it shows like on the back of the Alma PD car, SRO with the Red Hawk. We're looking at that or Iroquois, and then we wanted to keep SRO on the back as opposed to security or something else.
And I think that's cool because the serious part, you really are the front facing to an awful lot of students, an awful lot of parents, and sometimes the first people they talk to, and it's deeply appreciated, so thank you.
Thank you. You know, and I guess the reason I did bring up the uniforms, the company that we all work for, all the SROs through Terry and Vista and Terry merged, they just came up with new jackets that basically say security real big on the back and have Terry all over them. Like that kind of goes against like what we are here now. Like we're kind of I don't say branded, but they know us as school resource officers, and you know we want to represent the school, and no disrespect to Tarian, but we still want to, we're here as Iroquois, and we want to represent the school. So that was my purpose of meeting with Mr. Wolski this week.
And that's an important point because I said the students really trust you, and I think once you put security across someone, I think you're naturally a little more suspicious. That could be the wrong word, but I think you know what we're trying to say there.
Couple things. I know Mr. Schofield had asked if I'd touch on a couple things. Do we have time? Okay. And then I'll run through it pretty brief. I know a lot of question comes up about our vape numbers. And I will say our vape report, we're down considerably from where we were at the end of last year. So we do have some students who've been caught and they're being dealt with. We established a little more of a set date. So now we have dates. If you get caught, we offer the Catch My Breath program, which I run at the high school. And not only is it a secession program where we're able to get them, instead of a 3-day suspension, we can get it reduced down, but we're taking a couple of hours after school twice, so like an hour and a half with enough to get them on the late bus, and then we pick one other day where they do another hour and a half, so they're spending about 3 hours learning about the harmful effects of vaping and long-term possible health issues. We've actually had a few people afterwards that have come up and volunteered, like, hey, I know I didn't get caught vaping, but I have a problem. Can I sit through your class? So we are seeing some good there. I mean, are we going to totally stop? Are we going to cure it? No, but we're seeing a drastic decrease in our numbers so far. We were just talking about that in the high school. Like, our watches aren't going off. Like, the number of vape alerts is definitely coming down. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we still have our work to do, and we're on it. We're responding to the alerts. The SROs are in and out of the bathrooms, as well as the teaching staff. So it's a battle we'll always be fighting, but we are glad to see that the numbers are coming down. All rooms in districts on day one after we broke from the superintendent speech in the beginning, we had our own SRO meeting, and then when we broke off, everyone back to their buildings. I asked everyone to go back to your building, check every room. I know we did it last year, but it's a new school year. Let's go in, let's check all our door locks, let's make sure our electronics are working. Does it need a battery? Any window locks broken? Do you see any type of hazard? Let's document it. We'll reach out to the appropriate people, try and get it fixed. So we did that on day one. All our SRP packets, all our standard response protocols, we have them in every room by every exit in the event of a lockdown or any of our 5 protocols. Everything is on here. As staff changes, people change, we make sure everyone updated the emergency contacts in the back. We have new staff that comes into the building, make sure we educate them on our lockdowns, on our hold, secure, evacuate, shelter, the event of a fire drill. So we did the training on that. Our district fire maps. So we went through and we've been trying to update all the district fire maps. So they'll have a new look. They'll be universal throughout the district. No matter what building you're in, they'll all be the same. But not only are we trying to update them, our buildings change, right? Classrooms change. Like 1 year, you may not have as busy of a hallway. But now what I found today in Wales, that's why I went the end of today for their fire drill. we now have 5 or 6 classrooms they're full classrooms. So you have a whole wing that's typically been using as a primary exit. So what I saw when the fire drill went off, I don't want to say logjam, but it was a little bit slower getting out. So you look at that, you evaluate how can we change that? How can we speed that? So how can we speed this up a little bit? So we took 2 rooms. So all the primary and secondaries are marked with arrows, and then we get it laminated, the Velcro's on the back, just to get away from like paper versions taped, to just be a cleaner, neater look. But what I did is talk with the building principal, like, hey, why don't we take these 2 classrooms, let's slide them out to the front, so that when I say testing the fire drill, that's what we're doing. So we look at wings where you may have more classrooms now, or like in the high school where you have a 2nd story coming down to the 1st floor. How many in that wing are we also trying to get from the 1st floor wing out, or do we need to move some of those and change, like maybe out the front door? So we've been taking notes and evaluating and changing as needed, making sure our building principal and Dave Carlin, everyone's on board. I do want to say Dave has been the designer behind this. I do want to say Dave Carlin's been really helpful with helping us on that. Another thing we ran into is that, I guess for an event like this maybe, or if somebody is, let's say an outside event like tonight in the library, we have AARP is in there. If there isn't an SRO in the building, if it's after hours, if it's a business use forum, or our coaches staff, they might be out of district, they might not be familiar with fire drill procedures or lockdown, or if they're in the building, the lockdown goes off. So you did come up with a sheet. I don't know if you want me to pass around so you can take a look at it, but it's a brief synopsis really of fire drills and also what to do in the event of a lockdown. Where to go, black lights out of sight, wait for an officer to come. So we've been working with Dave Carlin to get that done, so we're happy, that is out. I know Mr. Schofield still have to go to you. I wanted to bring it to you for final approval, but I know we're. I know it was in the email around, and the only thing I did, there was a couple little changes after looking at, but real minor. But I think we have the final version ready to go on that. I know we've been working with the building principals, get all the safety plans updated on the state ed website. So that should be all done. I just talked about updating SRPs. I know in the II building, we really did a lot of work with Mr. Harding there, just making sure that from lock boxes to keys to additional fobs, with everything that's needed that they have them up to speed. And then we went around room by room. Aaron and I went to every room and updated the staff on everything from fire drills to lockdowns, all the procedures. You have any questions? Changed around the fire drill in that building a little bit as well, because it's a much busier building. So we did make a few changes on that, and any changes we did make, we spoke to the teachers, made sure they understood and agreed with. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape there. A lot of our primary building guys pretty much do a lot of what we do. So like we were talking, it goes above and beyond just the basic security and vetting who comes in and out and procedures and door locks. Our middle school, or our primary guys now, they also do the UPK pickup and drop offs, which I've been to all 3 buildings to watch and monitor and see how the flow is going, but just to see the relationship starting already at the small age. It's, when I was at Elm, but they're, Mr. Bob, as soon as they get out of the car, they're running the, Mr. Bob right away. So it is nice to see that relationship at a young age at the UPK level. It's also fun when I'm in the primary building, seeing the SROs interacting with, they have penalty boxes set up in gym, like they're working with the gym teachers, like they're interacting with them outside on recess. They're in all the lunches, bounce around different tables. So it's nice to see that interaction and building relationships and rapport. I think one thing that they do that takes up a lot of time, and I really commend them on it, because they're working really well with the building counselors, and they're teaching all the SEL classes, all the social emotional learning classes. So a lot of them are 3-step classes. So you're not just going in the one classroom one time. You're hitting all the classes once, then you get into part 2, you're hitting all the classes again, you get into part 3, you're hitting them all again. So we're spending a lot of time working with their building counselors. Might be anything from reading certain parts, the role playing, to just, the dialogue back and forth. But they go in, I was able to sit through a few of those and watch, and it's fun to kind of watch that. High school, middle school level is a little bit different, and based on age, based on the needs, so I guess for me at the high school, and Aaron, when he was there before the middle school, we get asked to go in a lot of classes. A lot of it's sometimes we get prom season, dance season. We're talking about the dangers of alcohol and effects on the body. Might be about drinking and driving. We work with ITAC. We use the ITAC goggles. We go in the gym classes, set up courses. They're driving the DWI carts with the goggles on, trying to play catch with the balls, and then trying to just understand the impairment of alcohol. But at the end is where, you know, they're having fun during this, but at the end, it's where you really sit down and you kind of deliver that message, the seriousness of it. And what, you know, imagine if you're involved in a serious accident and somebody had to call your mother, you know, and then it kind of hits home. And we always stress that message at this day, you know, in this day and age with technology. Everyone has phones. Call somebody, you can text somebody, you have Uber, Lyft. There's so many ways. There's no reason to be behind the wheel impaired by alcohol or drugs. At the end of the year last year, and we'll do it again this year, the pre-prom demonstration where we simulated an accident by the tennis court. Elma Fire responded. We had we had two senior students who also happened to be firemen. They were our role players. They're involved in the accident. Elma Fire responded. Mercy Flight came, responded. And the same thing, you bring them together as a group, and you talk to them, try and spread that message about making good choices. I thought that was really well, and we hope to be able to do that again. A lot of times we get involved, we get invited in the classes, might be talking about vehicle and traffic law, police work, crime scene investigation, maybe court testimony. I've had a lot of students ask to write college letters of recommendation. They want to talk about colleges, careers, relationships, sports, maybe mental health issues, overall health issues, family issues, different laws. What if I did this? Could I get in trouble for that? Really just guidance on a lot of different situations. And I feel that that's rose in the buildings, on all the buildings, and what you touched on, you know, at the games. I don't leave our part-time guys out at our events because I think there's really been a lot of bridging that gap, right, between law enforcement and students, or law enforcement and community. And I think it's been really received well here at Iroquois, and really can be more thankful for that. I mean, we've had very few incidents at games, only a couple people maybe that have been asked to leave and that have left without incident. It hasn't even been our Iroquois families, it's been visitors. So I think all in all, we've had very few incidents to come back and report on to you guys on. So I think overall, you know, I almost feel like having, I don't want to say that police presence, but the presence of the SROs in the buildings or at the events almost provides like a sense of calming. One other thing I did want to add was that just recently, and I'm working on this now, was that I was asked to come in and talk to one of the special ed classes, and they want us to talk if they're ever to have interactions with police, how do you respond? But then we took it, I guess, a little bit further, like bringing in our Central Police Services, one of our dispatchers. They actually run a course that we ran in the primary buildings on how to call 911 and when to call. They actually bring a phone booth, they do a full setup, and they're real dispatchers for CPS. So they give out different scenarios, show them how to call 911. So they're going to come in as well. The fire department's going to come in and speak to this class as well about different fire safety, how to use a fire extinguisher, and then we'll do our part talking about law enforcement. So we are putting that together, and I thought I was done, but there's actually two more things. Sorry. One thing I am excited to say is that I've been pushing for this, and it's just a matter of trying to get around, I don't want to say some of the legalities, but some of the issues, like how do we coordinate getting training for our staff here, you know, if they want to volunteer and go to CPR, like CPR, you know, basic first aid. So we did finally just secure that. Been working on that, and I have the contact number. I've been given class sizes, the times we can use, so now it's just a matter of getting it out district-wide and starting getting a few from each building to fill each class, and then we'll keep them going. So they'll be certified in CPR. It'll be a 2-year card, free of charge, so free to the district, free to the attendees. I think the only thing we asked, and I did ask you if we're able to use the building. So they have to be a building used for them separate. They come on their own, but they would be able to be trained in CPR. And the last thing, and I spent a little time in Wales today going over reunification. So when I look at, as a district, when I look at reunification on how can we improve, if any of the buildings were ever involved in like a serious event, a crisis, and we had to leave that building, where do we go? And we do have that plan, but it's like, how do we fine tune it now? So when we were in Wales, we were talking about, we leave Wales, we have it set up with one of the local neighbors. You know, and I guess I was explaining there, if something bad happened in this building, and this building now becomes a crime scene, it's gonna be very hard to try and get parents to come to get their child when you're gonna have a huge amount of police, fire, all the other departments that are gonna be there. You're probably gonna have, that road would be shut off. And they say the national average for every one student that comes in emergency situations, you get about 4 people, even though we typically ask one parent come. They say the national average is 4 people. So if you have a building of 250 and then your staff members, you could have potentially 1,000 people. So we look at off-site. So it's working with the bus garage and transportation. We've talked to Father Paddock, Christian Crossroads right here. It seems like it'd be a really good location. So now it's a process, getting the MOU done, getting layout of the building. I did have a good conversation with him, from his cameras to security, to the layout, to the parking, and then it gets into laying out our district teams, from our greeters to our runners, where you keep the parents and who monitors, make sure that the student gets turned over to the appropriate guardian, because, you know, it might not be an uncle, like it has to be the appropriate person. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that, and a lot of it we do have in place, but it's getting them a little bit further away from what we have, just based on what we've seen in other incidents, how big of a response and how many people you get there. We're looking at like our church that's right next to Marilla, or the barn that's by Wales. Like we have to get further away to be able to, one, let them preserve the scene, but also be able to have a smooth, fast transition to getting our kids back reunited with their families as quickly and as smoothly as possible. So we are working on that as well. I think I got nothing else to throw at you on that. So.
With all of that, what I want to say to the board about the school resource officers, they look like very happy people here. But what I like about them is they're never satisfied. They keep looking at every situation. How can we make it better? They're self-starters. They talk to people. They take that, they digest the material and come up with ways to continually improve in connecting with students, which is primary, and the second way is making students safe, which is also primary. And so these are just a short list of what they do daily. Tremendous work that they do, and they take it on and do it themselves. So I couldn't ask for a better team to have than we have here at Iroquois, so thank you.
You know, thank you. And I know Mr. Mike kind of touched on it, but there's a lot that we, I guess, get involved in student names or situations we can't talk about, but you're 100% right when you say that, you know, that I guess we suppress a lot of things. We take care of a lot of things before they even have to use the tip line. We have so many students that'll come to us, our counselors, our administrative staff, and they talk, we try and resolve what we can, and we're still using all our outside resources, whether it's police, outside counseling within the building, or it's often both. Like, we're still utilizing all the resources without Sandy Hook pointing us in that direction. So there is a lot that happens in the buildings that we are able to be a part of and help and give guidance and support on that too. So you're right on when you said that. So thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
By the way, the physical fitness exam for the SROs in the morning.
Doug is leading.
I'm not taking it. Yeah, I'm leading. I got my car started.
Doug's leading, and he's bringing donuts. So I'm not sure how that goes together, but
there you go.
so from that, which truly was interesting and informative, we are going to move to. We need to pick a date for the BOCES meeting in April. Within our packet, there are dates to choose from. So we need to choose a date.
When's our board meeting?
And I'm assuming, Nora, it's the second set of dates?
Yes, and our board meeting is April 9th
Okay.
in April.
So we got, what, April 22nd, April 23rd, 24th, 28th, and 29th?
You need to choose a date for
Okay.
So we're supposed to send one person to that meeting? Is that it?
Ideally.
Well, obviously, April 9th is out for us because we have our own meeting.
Yeah, and there are years that we do not have any representative there.
What time is the meeting?
Their meetings are
see.
usually earlier in the day, aren't they?
The meeting that.
No, the annual meeting?
Well, that was the first one. I guess we'll go in order here.
It's in the evening.
It's in the evening. It's a meeting just like ours. It's their board meeting. They have their annual meeting in April. We have ours beginning of July.
No.
We pick a date and then whatever the majority of the districts can make, that's the date that they choose.
Okay, so no matter what date we pick here, it may not even be the date.
Might
that-
not be the date,
That's
yep.
right.
I mean, if they picked the 2nd or the 10th, I don't have anything on my calendar right now. I'd be able to go.
Okay,
Um,
which one you want?
Pick one.
Jane? The easy one
I'd
better
rather
for you?
I'd rather do the 2nd.
Okay.
If I'm going, I'd rather do the 2nd.
Well,
Congratulations.
you volunteered, so.
I'll put it on my calendar now.
Yeah, I was, shortly after I joined the Navy, they told me it stood for never again volunteer yourself.
Well,
So, that was like the second day.
And the second one is typically a 8 AM, 5-minute meeting that we have.
And just one question, because it has to be at 8 AM or?
No,
It does not have to be, but it's really just approving their budget. We don't do typically any work or any discussions at it. You see all the material ahead of time.
And I just want to throw it out there, go ahead.
typically, whatever 4 people can make a certain date, then we can do it that way.
And I was just going to say only because, and I could be off, but only because of work schedules, if we did it like in the evening, that doesn't work?
You can do it whenever you want.
Yeah, you can do it at any time you want. What you're approving is their administrative budget, just saying, yes, we approved how many millions of dollars you want to spend on the $1 million budget, or no, we don't approve it. And that's the only action.
And I guess, and then just only for me, obviously evenings are a lot easier, but does anyone?
There's 3 people.
I can do any time. I'll just make it work.
Todd? Morning person, evening person? Okay. I guess I would like to do it in the evening, and then the date,
Okay.
That's like a 5-minute meeting.
That is during,
Easter week.
Easter
Is that our spring break? Are we on spring break
that
then?
is not during spring break.
Spring break is the week of the 14th.
so looking at it right now, and I know things change, I mean, I don't, as far as I'm concerned, any of those dates could potentially work.
Yeah.
As of right now, I mean, I know it's kind of hard to predict that out, but.
In the evening?
Yeah.
It was in Thursday.
Yeah, I would prefer to do it in the evening.
Okay, how about Tuesday, April 22nd?
What, you want to shoot for that one? In the evening?
6 a.m.
What?
6 a.m.
6 a.m. would work, but.
I'm not voting. I don't have to be awake.
Tuesday, April 22nd, and at what time?
6 p.m.?
Can everybody make that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this
Okay,
one's
so we have
brief.
1, 2, 3, and Todd, can you make it?
Okay. So that concludes that, right, Nora?
Yeah, so we have, the first one, the annual meeting, Wednesday, April 2nd, in the evening, I'll get the time. And then for our separate BOCES administrative budget meeting that we have to have separately here, would be Tuesday, April 22nd, at 6 p.m.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Move on to the roundtable dates. Basically, we need to pick a date for the Student, Community, and Transportation Roundtable. we did decide to change the format of the staff roundtable. So, and I believe that the dates last year is on the agenda, right, Nora, in the packet?
I have one right here.
February 5th, oh, that's from last year. Got it, okay.
So typically, the student roundtables are in February, and typically the community roundtable is in March. And typically, we would do the community roundtable before a board meeting.
That's March 12th this year.
That will be March 12th. What do you guys think of that?
So March 12th will be the community one?
So March 12th, 2025, at 6 o'clock, let's say, okay?
Yeah.
March 13th, oh, it was before.
No, we
board
did it
meeting.
on Thursday. It was a Thursday.
For the students, we did it on a,
It was a leap year. So it was Thursday. We always did it
That-
on
that was
Thursday
right
because
before
that
the
was the
break.
day I didn't have to go to work, so I could be here all day.
that was right before their winter break. I think that worked out pretty well for them, if I recall. So that would take us to February 13th, if we followed that same pattern. It's a Thursday, February 13th. It's a day after our board meeting.
Yeah, that works for me.
You can just
What do you think?
pencil it in.
Whoever can make it, can make it. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
So Thursday, February 13th, 2025, and it'll be during lunch periods, around 11 a.m. to around 1 p.m.
Okay.
Pizza's included.
Okay. And then is Keith still setting up the transportation one?
As far as we know.
So we can circle back with that one
Yeah,
then.
we'll have to follow up with him.
And then we kind of, just I guess, so we could kind of close the circle with the change in format for the staff. I think we kind of, I think we would get some feedback. Did we ever get anything from the teachers of the union?
No, I don't think we have.
Okay.
No, we can talk to them again. We have a meeting coming up.
Okay.
And you wanted to have it with,
They can somehow submit.
submit questions ahead of time,
Yeah.
and then people can show up and.
Yes. And we think we kind of agreed with that, but we want to see how the staff felt about that.
And when do we normally have the staff one again? Around February?
In it's usually, last couple of years was the same day as the student ones.
Right.
So, board members would take like a day off of work or something. I
Okay.
think that's why we did it the same day.
So we can, that one, we're going to put it back on the agenda for next month and after we hear back from
Well,
them.
we can pick the date this month.
Right, the date, I mean, is that the date that we kind of want to shoot for at least right now?
February 13th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least, okay.
February 13th
For the staff too.
For the staff.
So do the student and then the
Student
faculty
and staff
after?
would be on the same day.
at what time?
Well,
Same times?
Same times, that's when the staff is the most available, that's what they've
Yeah.
always liked.
Yeah.
But we'll check that too, but that's typically what they've liked. They're here, they don't have to go home and come back.
So that, for right now, that, we're good on that one, right, Nora?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next one, 704, which is financial literacy class. I'm going to let Todd lead off with this one, but this is also one that, well, I'll go after Todd goes. Financial literacy?
Financial literacy,
Oh, sorry. I was getting caught up in my.
dates. Do you need a second? We'll give you the-
We're moving quickly here.
I was making a duplicate for the student, for the staff. So I'm really looking to see what we can do to emulate what Akron is doing. And I know in the past, I've tried to get some more stuff into the school, and it kind of fell on its face, so I'd like to see somebody that's got an existing program that's up and running and doing good things, and I'm hearing good things about it, see how we can maybe bring that in to our school, because they're working with Perry's Ice Cream, Bank on Buffalo, and Bank on Buffalo somehow has ties into Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly, and that's the tie into Pennsylvania is where some of the classes and the educational part actually started and came from. So hopefully we can dig in and maybe find that it's like a plug and play, if you will, that we can just take what they're doing. So I want to reach out to their superintendent and one of the board members I've had a couple quick flash conversations with to start to pick his brain.
Can you just provide an overview of what the class entails?
It's actually cool because it does get into like your basic like accounting and, you know, all that, you know, just good basic.
Is this a particular class they have there you're talking about?
Yeah, it's I think it's because it's part of their financial literacy, and you have to have it to graduate out of their school, if I remember. But the gal from Perry's actually brings in some of the bigger picture, like actually running a business and talking a little about inventory and all that type of stuff. But like the basic ground that I tried bringing in was just basic financial literacy, right? Like, you know, just knowing how to do your own checkbook, knowing how to do your own investing, and try to retire early and rich and accomplish what I wanted to do and didn't.
So we've discussed this, I think, last year.
Yes, at the round table we did.
Well,
After the round table.
Well, the round table, we did talk about that, where I asked the high school students to raise their hands if they felt.
Turn your mic
It's
on,
on.
I heard.
It's on.
Okay.
Okay. To feel that if they would feel that when they graduated from high school, that they would be ready for the world and to be financially ready. And I think 2 people raised their hands, and I suspect most those students probably get the education from home. So when we talked about it before, we do have some really good classes as part of the Business Academy.
Mm-hmm. And in the math department,
CRM 2. I was looking at the Business Academy website today on everything, all the courses that they offer. And I think the Business Academy is something you need to apply for, because it's good that, you know, the students, as part of the Business Academy, get this education, but we're not really doing our students much justice if we're sending them out into the world without being financially literate. And I do know that Akron did a bang-up job of rolling out a program and making it as part of their school a graduation requirement. I think when we started to talk about it, the discussion stopped when we said, well, the Business Academy kids are getting these classes, but like, what about everyone else that goes to Iroquois and graduating from our school and not being financially literate, and trying to look and exploring on what it would take to get that rolled out further, similar to maybe what Akron did.
So, just to remind everyone, and Todd, you weren't here last year, after that we had the discussion, went back to the high school administration. It's just not the Business Academy, there's also electives they can take through the math department where they have it. So we do have opportunities for all students to take classes. Where the discussion that I remembered ending was, do we want to tell kids it's a requirement and you have to take it? Because that's where then students who want other electives may lose that opportunity for electives. So just like we don't like the state telling us what to do, we would be telling students what they have to do to graduate. The other caveat I want to put in there is, with the Blue Ribbon Commission, they have made the statement, school districts can't require graduation requirements more than what they have. On that piece too, they're also talking about financial literacy, so it actually might dovetail right together. So I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just saying that's a piece we just have to keep an eye on. If we make a requirement for graduation, if we'd have to pull it back within a year or so.
So how did Akron do it then?
Well, the Blue Ribbon Commission is not in effect yet. That's what's coming down the road. So that, I'm saying if we did it this year, that's where we'd have to back down. If it didn't, I think under Blue Ribbon Commission, the pieces I've heard, which are very, very small, there's a financial component in it. So it might be okay. I just don't want to promise something and then have the state say no.
Just for the audience, what the Blue Ribbon Commission.
The Blue Ribbon Commission is the new graduation requirements that the state is looking to implement. Right now, in order to graduate, you have to jump through certain hoops, mainly taking Regents class in so many years, in like 3 years of math, 3 years of science, 4 years of English, and so on. That would change, where now you could have more concentrations, and it would be more of a little more open as to what the needs and what the students want to do in their path, as long as they met certain competencies. Why I have to be a little vague on it is because the state's being a little vague on it, and they would be pulling back from Regents exams. So they're saying there would not be Regents exams. There would be some you would have to sit for, I think 3, but it wouldn't matter how you did on them. You would just have to sit for them, and that's part of a federal requirement. Again, sounds kind of convoluted, because right now the state hasn't been articulate in it. It's a concept that they're working on that was presented by people in the educational field to the state education department. They kind of like it. In November, they're going to release a timeline. After part of the timeline will be when they're releasing more detail on what it means.
Which could take a long period
well,
of time.
That's the whole question. I think from what they're saying, they're really excited about it and want to move forward with it. So I think it's going to be faster than the normal 10-year thing. I think it could be a couple-year thing of moving forward with it personally.
And just, I'm going to start off by saying I'll apologize to Doug and Nora here, because it's going to be a little about drinking like from a fire hose for a few minutes. Todd kind of really awakened something when he brought this up, and I did speak with Keith with this at length. And we understand, and the Blue Ribbon Committee, what they're doing and they're not doing. In a second, it's almost irrelevant, because it's what can we do now? And in the way Keith said it, and this I give him a lot of credit for, is that he wants to, and I agree with him, that what do we do to prepare our students to be successful when they leave here? And in the way Keith exactly said it is, are we on the cutting edge? Are we on the edge? Are we mid-pack? Or are we behind? And we began to brainstorm, about this. And he said what we really want is students to want to take these type of classes and to find value in them. And then we went even farther about being a conduit. And what I mean by that is, and right now, just because I didn't ask permission to say their names, in dealing with both, college and the trades, I did have a conversation today with 2 CEOs of one company, is a very large local company that everyone would know, and they probably know the other one as well. And I said, hey, we are interested in making sure our students are prepared. Do you know what I mean? Would you be willing to come and talk to them? And these are, one's a massive company. And he's like, about time you guys are calling, not meaning Iroquois, school districts in general. And he's like, absolutely. And I'd like to bring some of my staff with me. And as a matter of fact, I've, recently hired someone from the collegiate level to do this stuff and reach out to schools. And the other one said the same thing. So kind of what we're envisioning is, can we start to, and I think I talked to Heather a little bit about this, a lot of stuff happened before COVID, do you know what I mean? And COVID's gone, it's over. How do we get to expose our students to these companies? Because these companies want exposure to the students, and they're not doing it in the sense of anything for them. A lot of these people really want to give back and really want to improve, and they're looking, as we're looking for a conduit, as Keith said, they're looking for a conduit back to be able to help and give. And one is like I said, has many jobs from trades, to office jobs, and the other one, would probably a little bit more college orientated, but not necessarily. And the other point was in this is that someone brought this up to me, is that they said, and it was a school, said, hey, at this particular college, I'll just say St. Bonaventure, it wasn't, but that's the one that, there was a bus that came up with 30 students got off of it. So in other words, what the school was doing is, if there was a bunch of students who were interested in college and interested in a particular college, they were setting it up with the college and taking them there. So you can do the trade route and you can do the college route. And I think that as a board, and it probably started with COVID, we've spent a lot of time on the ground level. And I think I'd like to get back to the 50,000 foot level, and that's providing this vision. And this is kind of the vision that Keith and I have to do it, to start to really move the needle forward and let these, I told the CEOs I would reach back out to them after I talked to all of you, and Doug, to see how we can make this work, after we make the introductions and then like find someone at the school who would be the point person. But like the one company does this with colleges. And he was extremely interested in doing it with the high school and helping. And then they hire these people. They provide internships. So that's kind of how I envision doing it. So I kind of like a two-prong. I would kind of like to know, not necessarily in a presentation, but from the administration, what do we do and what do we currently offer for preparedness for both college and the trades, what's available to the students. And then unless you guys think I'm crazy, which is okay if you do, I'd like to maybe work with you and the superintendent, and maybe if I can get, the two CEOs and Doug in a room together and start to take this to the next level. And that's why I explained to the CEOs, this is just an idea I had. I'll be 100% honest with you. I took Todd's idea, Keith's idea, and when I was in the bathroom this morning, it all started to come together. But
Glad you had a good morning.
He showers in the morning, just want to get that.
Yes.
That's what I
And
do too.
I'm not lying.
the
Both CEOs, from the time I sent a message to them, within 15 minutes, both of them called back and spent a half hour. One of them went on to how he just went to Germany to see how education is done in different places. So does this
I like the idea. I like the idea of exploring it, but I do think that we need to be careful that the board stays at in its board lane, and you bring the idea to the district, but then the district people, the people that we've hired to run it, need to see if it's actually a viable program, and then come back to us and say, okay, this is what we figured out. Here's what we need from the board, and it's going to be money, policy, procedures.
Yeah, I mean, curriculum and classes would be something that's developed, by our teachers and administrators here. Where it would be, because you said the word vision, you put Keith's vision and Todd's vision together. I'm glad you have that in your head. I wasn't with you this morning, so I don't have it in my head. So here's a vision of what the board would like to see happen in a financial literacy that helps students move towards college or the trades. And then we would have to say, okay, the policy would be, is it a part of graduation requirements or not? And then from there, we would develop the course, implement it, and see what the feedback is from everyone.
Sounds like a great thing to maybe put into the curriculum part of a strategic plan.
I think it would be a great piece.
Something that we don't have currently.
And I have a person in mind at the high school who I think has a background in this as an administrator, or as a teacher, who's an administrator now, that could probably lead this and do a good job.
Any exposure to the world of work
Well, I want an internship for everybody personally.
And this was just a very brainstorm. So I guess, my fellow board members and Doug, would you be opposed, like, getting you guys together?
No, I would.
And then yes, you guys would take it from there.
Yeah.
But that's where our board of view comes in. And then, because there's not really a roadmap on how to do this, it'd be creating it.
No, but Akron does have, I shouldn't say schools, I'm sorry, I don't like to mention schools, I shouldn't have, my mistake. But there is a neighboring school that has done a great program with it. I know one of our residents helped them set it up. I actually hooked that person up with someone in here. And I would like to see this vision, because like I said, I think exposure to jobs, internships, and learning what the real world is like is very important. I also believe from the state, and it looks like they're changing with the commission, the Blue Ribbon Commission, where you were so bound to the classes you had to take care of, it creates impediments. And one of the slides I saw where someone took classes, traditional classes, graduated. On the other side, people had internships, and that counted and got them to graduation. So I think the two could come together very nicely at this juncture, personally.
So, I guess the thing is, are we interested in exploring this?
I mean, the kids dig it. I've had the pleasure of coming in and talking to the kids, and the program that the Lomas family and the Iroquois family put in here, one of the teachers kind of picked it up and jogged with it. And the kids actually went to the parents, because their parents came to me and like thanked me, and they're like, the kids actually thought that was the coolest part of the class and their biggest takeaway. So I'd like to see it put in a little bit more, because if the kids are here and they actually like the class, holy smokes, we just did something, right? And when I got to come in to talk to the business class, because my parents are self-employed, so I got the pleasure of working since I was about 8 at trade shows, so I know a little about business. So when I come in and I talk to them about the trades and business, they do get a little excited and they do want to learn more. And there are parents and people in the area that are willing to come and talk to the kids and do like a lunch meet and greet. You know, you want to be a lineman, go talk to some linemen. You want to be an attorney, go talk to the attorneys.
And
right?
these guys weren't only interested, they were excited to do it.
Yep, 100%. The few parents that I talked to would love to come and let the kids actually ask questions, because they probably are kids that went to school for A's, spent $1 bazillion, and then didn't use the degree and went over here, right?
And I
STEM nights and stuff, and the kids are really interested in
The kids are always interested in things they find relevant. And I know years ago, I was asked to increase the number of graduation requirements needed from 5.5 a semester to 6. And I said, no. People need to create classes students want to take, and then they will take them, period. And that's where I am still. And I think it is a good possibility of relevance in this.
Okay, and like I said, right now it's just an idea, and I think, that vision is where we belong as a board. And I will, reach back out to those gentlemen and get them hooked up with you, so then the administration can take it, including that into a less of an idea and more of a plan. But I just think that's...
Well, I would say that from the board of vision of what you're looking for, then we will come up. We will come up with the plan.
Right.
Your administration.
And I think
chart of who and why.
Well, that's up to you. But I think our vision is that our students get exposed to the trades, to business people, and I think even to colleges, and they understand college better. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was a school that took all their kids that were interested in a particular university there. And then that university then, of course, catered to those kids and answered questions for them. And sometimes you think about it and you think, why? Well, some parents can't get the kids to these college visits, or they don't know how to do it. And then, so I think the more doors we can open.
I like the employer idea. Don't colleges come here already?
Colleges come here, but
seeing a campus is invaluable too.
Yeah, and that's where there could be a financial impact. But I kind of wrote as a quick vision, hearing him talk, student exposure to trades in college with financial literacy.
The trades used to have a
and we've had,
program where kids would go, but that was pre-COVID.
Well, that's what
I was going to say, way back in the day, Ormsby started out because my brother worked a week on construction or running equipment and came here to Iroquois for a week, and then he would go back, and he actually got a paycheck.
Yeah.
And he's, Christ, how old is he? 58.
yeah.
And he's making damn good money running equipment and trucks.
Well, and that's it. I know we do more than any other school for Ormsby of exposure to the trades there, but that's teachers that teach the trades coming in and talking about, or kids that are training to do the trades. It's not people in the trades currently doing it saying, here's what the work-life ratio is like. Here's what my day is like. So you say a lineman, how much does a lineman work? Does he work 8 hours a day, or does he work 20 hours a day? What's his shifts? How much money is he making? What's it like to be in their union? How hard is it to get a job? What do you have to do? These are the real questions that people coming in could ask.
And the other thing is that kids or students,
students could ask.
or like kids or students, when these people who are very good at what they do, whether it's a lineman or a CEO, come and spend time with them, it really means a lot to them, because it's fascinating. Yeah, so I think it's we'll get the vision going and then see where it goes. And I think it's what Keith said, we want to be cutting edge. And we need to, as a board, we need that big 50,000-foot vision. And if you're like, I learned a long time ago, if it doesn't sometimes feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, you may not be doing it right, because that's what cutting edge is. It's pushing forward. It's a little uncomfortable. It's doing different things that other people don't always do.
My only suggestion when you're looking at employers is, local employers or even colleges coming in, is the labor market becomes available.
No.
But that's where the two could tie together. And what I wrote down is actually what Heather said over here, this Heather, about it being part of the strategic plan. That's where the vision, and it could be articulated very well in there. Here's what the strategic plan is. Here's a timeline. Boom, 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 we're trying to get it in place.
And I think right now we're a little premature for details, but I just want to drive it forward, and then we can work on scale and do our big vision, and, you know, the superintendent and his team then can start to put together the minutia and the working details.
Just to throw it out there, that is where our strategic plan is weak. We don't have a lot that we're looking at curriculum-wise, but on the same token, yeah, we want to be cutting edge, but we should probably mention that it's not like we've completely ignored these things. We have programs, we have resources through BOCES and whatnot. It's not that we're not doing it, but to get us to the cutting edge, this new idea, something could really make it, you know,
because we have teachers who work very hard on some of these programs, and just to make it better.
We've mentioned, you know, a neighboring school district is doing something really cool. I want to do it better.
Yeah.
So that's it.
And just think about how cool that would be when they said, you know, the students say, you know, I got exposed to this local company, whatever it is, I got to talk to them, I got to go there. Well, they also took 20 of us to Niagara. You know, it just really opens doors up, and sometimes you got to shoot for the stars and dream big.
Well, and it's also good because then our students are networking with our local companies, and maybe some of our students will stay here when they get older.
Do the counselors
Speaking as a
help the
parent.
kids, like, do they talk to them about, like, the
That's part of the
opportunity?
requirements. The new guidance curriculum requires them to talk about jobs and future planning, and they actually have to start that in middle school. To what degree? I think it's hard to put all that on guidance counselors so they can talk about it, but it's hard to be all-encompassing when, do you know all the different jobs? Like, I had a friend once, and his job, what he did was move boxcars from trains, you know, computer-wise, and make sure this boxcar is over here to do it, and he made a nice sum of money doing that. I never even knew that was a job. I just thought in the yard you got the boxcar you needed and filled it up.
Do they do vocational testing with them at all to do interest in abilities?
I don't think so at this point, yeah. And they used to have a careers program that kids could do it if they want, but I don't think they're doing that right now, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start, and we'll keep pushing.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we'll go to the NYSBA conference. The annual conference is October 20th to 22nd. Who is going, and what do you wish to gain? Keith asked me to point out that he is going. He plans on attending AI and the EV sessions.
I would, not telling the board what to do at all, but I would highly suggest, if you see anything on the Blue Ribbon Commission, try to attend one of those, because that will be about graduation requirements. Might require us to change policies or beware or funding or something. So I would go here. You might not hear much. You might hear as much as I told you today in an hour, but at least you're aware of it.
Anyone else have?
Nora, when are we supposed to get the NYSBA event, that app working? What that has, I think on the NYSBA website it actually has all of the events right before.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's usually like maybe 5 days ahead.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
less than a week ahead.
But the sessions are on the website, and I looked, and I think that is important that we, because you're going, I'm going, Heather's going, that maybe we
And Keith is going.
divide and conquer on some of these sessions, because they're all really good, but there's one on Monday about restorative practices, and I'm probably going to focus on like the mental health sessions that they have.
And the key thing is, and why I appreciate what Heather's saying, is because if you guys come back from the conference, what have you learned that enhances our district?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that is the key.
That's why we're going.
Key to this.
Yep.
I mean, I think any conference that any one of us goes to that, you know, the school's paying for, we should always come back with something that we learn from it.
And the value that you get from it. And just like to touch on, I want to thank all, the majority of the board went to the dinner at Michael's, and we had a dinner and a car show. But I feel from that, once again, the first part of it was real beneficial, and the second part wasn't nearly as beneficial. So it's the same thing when we come back from NISBA.
Yeah.
What is it worth the time? Did you know what I mean? Because like, you know, Heather pointed out, we're spending money, which is perfectly fine, but are we getting anything from it? I think is, you know, key as we continue to try to enhance board training. And I will continue to work with, you know, Erie County School Board Associations to enhance our training. Because if we become better board members, the school district will be better off. And that's what we want to do.
So as I sit here looking disengaged on my phone, really what I am on is that app right now. It's Everbright. It wants me to update it, so I'm kind of stuck. And I was looking to see if there were any classes or things in there. There weren't any at this point, but I was able to have the app that said October 20th through 22nd, 2024. But right now, it's not letting me update.
Yeah, it's on the NISBA.
It's not ready yet.
Can't go any further. I'm trying to get events by day.
Yeah, it's on the NISBA website
Yeah.
too, but I could send out the link if people wanted to see what the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And now we're going to move to the Erie County Association of School Boards survey, you know, that Jane has sent out. This is similar in theory to what
I'm sorry. I was going to say I stand corrected because I think they're in here. They're all in here on the app once you update it.
Okay.
Yep, they're on there and you can set up your schedule. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. It says you're ordering a pizza.
It does.
What is with you guys and pizza tonight?
It's a hint, don't worry.
I'm hungry.
So this is a lot like the NISBA convention, except Jane and Erie County School Board Association has 7, not the 210,000 that Heather has to vote on. And the way these are structured are we in favor, are we opposed, or are we neutral? Okay?
So let me take a step back, because our rep and our alternate rep were not able to attend the NISBA, or I'm sorry, the ECASB legislative team meeting.
That would be Heather and I.
This survey came from that meeting. There are several legislators who asked to have more of a voice at our legislative fall event where we talk about the needs of the districts and the bills that we support and oppose. And they said, well, this is great information. We always love this event, but here's the thing. We have bills out there that you guys never talk about. Like, we don't understand why you're not talking about our bills. And so I said, well, give me the bills and I'll see what I can do. And in talking about these specific ones, the team kind of felt like, we don't really know how the districts feel about these things. So we want to get a feel, is this something that ECASB should be supporting? Is it something we should be opposing? What's our, you know, and why? And then ultimately, you know, it might end up being like, we talked about the cell phone and the banning of cell phones in school districts as a bill being presented. And ECASB is, in that meeting, we determined we would remain neutral because there are some districts in our local area that want to see them banned, and there are other districts that feel like that's overreach, and you know, let us decide for ourselves what we do with cell phones. So as an organization, ECASB is going to remain neutral with the justification that, you know, let school districts make that decision. It should be a district level decision, not a state decision. And so when we got to it, these bills, we weren't really sure because we've never talked about it at the legislative team, and it's not something that has necessarily come up in each one of these districts. So we're trying to get a feel for where the districts are so that the ECASB can take a stand or remain neutral, and then explain that to the legislators at the legislative breakfast in November. So that's the reason for the survey. It's not meant to be like a big, huge debate. It's just where do we where do we think we fall in these specific bills? So.
Do you want me to read them, or do you want?
You can read them.
Okay. So remember,
you're the president.
It's a discussion, and they did. Erie County did a cool job where it's in favor, opposed, or neutral. So the language is, a little bit clearer. So the first one is early intervention service. This bill amends the public health law to provide 11% increase in funding for early intervention services for the 2023 fiscal year. Specifically, the bill increases the gross statewide amount for early intervention services from $40 million to $44.4 million for 2023 fiscal year. Is that 2024 now, or 5?
The bill was written so that it would be 2023. I would assume that they would have to update that.
This additional funding is intended to support the provision of early intervention services which are critical for children with developmental delays or disabilities. It is stuck in committee as of January 20th, 2024, and Assemblyman William Conrad is a local sponsor. There is no companion bill. William Conrad is one of the real good guys. He's extremely good to work with. He listens, and I've always enjoyed talking to him, and that's not my general impression of Albany, that Jane knows.
So,
but he is, and he really kind of gets it, and he gets kids, and he gets us.
Mostly because I think, Bill is a former teacher up in one of the north towns. Guess which one. And so he comes at everything he does when it comes to education legislation from a standpoint of having been an educator. His wife is an educator. So he knows this business. And
he's also very balanced and fair. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you were just to talk to him like normally, you wouldn't be able to pick his political affiliation. He's just very honest, very fair, and I find him very sincere. So I do think this, at least in my opinion, I would be in favor of it.
Something also to note is that just because we would, be in favor, opposed, or neutral, because this bill doesn't have a companion bill, the likelihood of it passing by the time, it would have had to have already gone through. Everything at this point is done. So basically, if we say we're in favor of this, what we're saying is, okay, Assemblyman Conrad, please reintroduce your bill for the next legislative season, and then ECASB will do some campaigning, behind the scenes, going to all of our senators in the local area and saying, hey, come on, get on board. That's in saying we'll support it. It means that when we see Senator Galvin, we'll say, oh, and by the way, have you seen that bill? Can you please, sponsor a Senate bill so that it has a chance to making it through the next legislative session?
So, everyone else's thoughts?
I don't see why we wouldn't support this unless there's something in it that financially that I'm not seeing.
My concern financially, I think it's great, and more money towards education is really what you want to have. But if they put a percentage of funds here, what does that take it away from? Mm-hmm. So is it taken away from foundation aid? If it's coming from something other than education, great, take the money. But there's only so much money the state has. Yeah. And is this where we want it to go to over any other bill or idea? So without comparing it to other bills, I can't advise on that. That would be my concern.
What's the cost to the school district for your intervention? Did you pick it up, right?
Early intervention is typically done by the county.
When does the school district pick it up?
When they become kindergartners. So preschool. No, preschool, they have to, the county is responsible for paying for the services.
So this is an increase to the county,
Yes, but, to the superintendent's point, if we're going to give more money to the county for these early interventions, are they going to take it from us, from our education budget through foundation aid?
And the early interventions, let me be clear too, the district benefits from it because if they have early interventions, then they might need less services for their career, their 13-year career at Iroquois. So I'm not saying I oppose it. You ask what thing might you want to think about. Where does the money come from? it's a great thing. You know, I want to go somewhere, it'd be a great trip. Where does the money come from? I need a refrigerator. I don't mind working, Dave.
Well, I think for the fairness of this exercise, it's too much into the weeds.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I mean, that's a very lengthy discussion, probably would go past my bedtime.
probably would.
I think it's kind of like read it at what it says.
Read it what it says.
And
If
just-
you guys like it, sounds
Yeah.
good, I'd vote yes.
Yeah.
That's where
I'd
I
be
am. I'm still in
of it.
favor of it.
All right,
Yeah, favor, yeah.
you have to report this.
No, I don't think it's not a formal vote, right, Jane? Oh.
That's up to you.
I don't
That is
think
up
it
to
needs
you. You have to report the.
Well, it's not a
survey results
resolution,
back.
but you could do a straw vote. So therefore, when we report back to them, we would say, as a district, we would support this. We don't have a formal vote,
Yeah.
but right now, we look in favor.
Okay.
Okay. Next is number 2. This bill amends the education law to exempt the costs associated with the purchase of BOCES services and programs from real property tax levy limit. BOCES are regional public educational service agencies in New York that provide shared educational programs and services. By exempting the BOCES related cost from the tax levy limit, the bill aims to provide school districts with more flexibility in financing their educational services without being constrained by the tax levy limit. It is stuck in committee as of January 2024 and is locally sponsored by Assembly Conrad and Assemblyman McMahon. Is that say her name?
McMahon, yep.
Accompanying Senate Bill S01574 is in committee and has no local sponsor. John, what does that exactly mean?
No local sponsor?
No, not no local sponsor. What does that bill mean?
If I read it right, it means
It means
that,
you want to vote
that our
yes and have
BOCES
them do
services
it.
will no longer be part of our tax levy cap.
It would be excluded,
It
yes.
would be excluded, so it would make it so that we would be able to have,
Increases in there would not impact what you could have on the levy.
okay.
It's a
So-
good thing.
So what that means, in other words, if you spent, just to make it simple, if you spent $1,000 on this, that $1,000 wouldn't go towards the tax levy percentage increase?
It would not be part of, it sounds like that's what they're saying.
That's what I was asking. Is that what they're saying?
It sounds like.
I do believe that that is what it says, yeah. And it does have a Senate bill, it's just not sponsored by anybody locally, so that means that this one has gone a little bit further. I still don't think that it'll go through in this legislative session, but being in favor of it means that Assemblyman Conrad and Assembly members Conrad and McMahon would reintroduce it, and hopefully we could get a local sponsor pushing it.
And just for 1 second, just to play the devil's advocate just for 1 second, so what that would mean is that you would almost you can increase taxes and not have the supermajority because it's not going to count towards that.
It means that our BOCES related costs would not be part of the tax levy that the,
But when we
voters
put it
vote for.
out, if we put it out to the public, it would still show that the increase would still be large though, right? Because you're still spending more money.
Yeah, it could impact where it is up or down. So let's just take what we've been talking about for trades, CTE. So if we had our entire senior class want to go to BOCES for it, huge increase in cost, we would be able to pay our part of it and the state would pay their part of it. Because we wouldn't have the formula holding us back in how much we can increase. Whereas if, on the same token, if we had a huge drop in it, then our levy would be lower because it wouldn't be part of that formula. It's excluded from getting that number of what we could do. So John pulls out the exclusions, does all the formula work, gets a number, and puts those dollar amounts back in and gets the final amount taxpayers vote on.
And you think it's a good?
I think it's a good thing.
John, you think it's a good thing?
It sounds like it.
yeah.
So what does everyone think? We can kind of do our straw poll.
I'd be in favor of it.
It would help provide programs for students and the state would actually have to cover more of it because of the BOCES aid.
Number 3, this bill amends the educational law to put limits on the salaries of certain teachers and aides employed by the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, BOCES. Specifically, it states that the part of a teacher's supervisor or other employee's salary that exceeds certain dollar amounts, starting at $3,000 and increasing over time to $60,000, will not be considered an approved expense for the purpose of BOCES aid. This bill also puts a 10% cap on administrative and clerical expenses for BOCES. Additionally, the bill changes the career educational and ratio calculation and the base amount used to calculate career educational aid. The change in the bill applies to BOCES aid and career education calculation starting 24-25. It is in committee with changes as of May 24 and is locally sponsored by Assemblyman Conrad. Companion bill in the Senate, S05024, is locally sponsored by Senators George Burrell and Patrick Gallivan.
I think it's important for us to note that Patrick Gallivan is our direct representative. He's our representative for Iroquois. So whatever we think about this, we should be communicating it with him. This one I don't get. John? Do you?
Well, the point I would focus on here is will not be considered as approved expense for the purpose of BOCES aid. We want as much possible as for BOCES aid. So when it's saying it will not be considered for an approved expense, that would mean the state is paying for less and we are paying for more.
And we would be opposed to that.
That's how I
would be opposed
that's
to that.
That's how I kind of read it, and I think I would be opposed to that, if that's what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's reducing aid, I would be opposed to it because our taxpayers pay a lot in state tax and we should be returning it to them.
So, yeah, it's kind of a weird one.
So I would guess if Jane got there or whoever got there from our board and realized we're interpreting it wrong, they know where the board stands and they could change the yay or nay that you're going to give.
Okay. So as a straw poll, are we generally opposed to this one?
I think so.
Okay.
And again, pointing out, with Patrick Gallivan being a sponsor of the Senate bill, we should probably be sending him a message saying, hey, no, you can't be supporting stuff that takes away aid from our district.
Or at the very least, if we are misunderstanding this, provide a clarification.
Right.
Or are we reading this right?
Yeah, definitely.
Don't do it.
Okay, number 4. This bill creates a school budget tax cap exemption for expenditures resulting from settlements or jury awards for civil actions brought against school districts under the Child Victim Act. Specifically, it amends the education law to allow school districts to exclude from their tax levy limits and tax levy necessary to cover expenditures from court orders or judgments against the school district arising out of civil claims, cause, or action brought under the Child Victims Act. This bill aims to provide financial relief to school districts facing increased costs due to such legal actions. Referred to committee January 24, it is locally sponsored by Assemblyman William Conrad, McMahon, Wallace. The Senate bill is S08123, was sponsored locally by Senator Tim Kennedy before he vacated the office for Congress. This is one from I would definitely support it because the damage that this could do to certain districts is immense. And when last time I was in Albany, they kind of admitted that they didn't maybe see this coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about how this is an unintended consequence of allowing for the childhood victims to I guess restore some of their, their being.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and while this isn't something that affects our district directly, we have neighboring districts that, some of their lawsuits are, more than their annual school budget, and there's no way. I can't imagine being put into a position and, the precedent it would set. I think that we need to support our local neighbors and support this bill.
And the easiest way, I think, of saying is we all recognize that the victims deserve to be made whole, but
That's what I was trying to say, thank you.
They don't want to necessarily bankrupt a district while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Because, and as I forgot who, it could have been Senator Gallivan who said, you do want that student from the past that was victimized, you want to take care of them, but you don't want to victimize all the current students by bankrupting their district. So this is something I think we're generally all in favor of.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, teacher retaliation. This bill... Retention. Well, you know. This bill authorized the New York State Educational Department to contract with a non-profit organization for a 3-year program to address public schools teacher recruitment and retention in the state, subject to appropriation. This bill has been in committee since January 2024 and is locally sponsored by Assemblyman William Conrad and Karen McMahon. There's no companion bill. I get the big picture of what they're saying. I'm not really sure what we're asking for.
It seems to me like it's trying to make the SED create a program to maybe fast track some teachers who are coming from other states and have certification, to be able to help them get certification faster in New York State, to entice more college students to go into education, and then to retain the teachers that we have, to keep them from going to other industries. It's too vague to me, though, like to know what are they gonna do with it, and where are they gonna get the money from, and
what are they gonna do with the money exactly?
I mean, they do need to make changes. A friend of mine moved back from Vegas, and he jokingly referred to himself as a corrections teacher. Because he got kids, so he had to teach all the subjects. When he came back to New York State, they wouldn't let him. He had to get recertified and everything.
Yeah.
He didn't specifically only teach 2 classes.
Yeah, it seems like this is one of those bills where the correct intent is there, but it's too vague to understand what it is we're actually supporting.
And it's too vague to support.
So I would say I'd like to remain neutral with the idea that we do want them to continue trying to find paths to help us with recruitment and retention.
And remain neutral.
Yeah.
And remain neutral unless you rewrite it in a way that we can understand what you're asking for.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, but I agree with the neutral.
Everyone kind of agrees with that? Okay. Okay, number 6 is seal of civic readiness. This bill authorized the New York State Commission of Education to establish a grant program that provides $50,000 grants to no more than 20 applicants, school districts per year. These grants are intended to support public schools that have successfully completed both the Seal of Civic Readiness application and a commissioner-created grant application. The grant can be used for a variety of purposes, including hiring teacher or clerical staff, developing community partnerships, providing professional development, and designing curriculum and instruction to implement the Seal of Civic Readiness program. It is locally sponsored by William Conrad. There is no companion bill.
So this is another one where I'm kind of like, I'm getting to a point where I'm really tired about hearing about grants and how they'll give them to 20 schools. There's 700 schools in New York State. We're not going to get one of these grants because we don't have the right population, we don't have the right socioeconomic status, yada, yada, yada.
We already have the civil readiness.
And we already have the Seal of Civic Readiness. Plus, I think, isn't this something that's being addressed through a Blue Ribbon Commission? Mm-hmm. I would say I would be opposed to this. I don't want to see it, because again, like, it's a grant. That means that somebody in your district has to spend hours and hours writing for the grant. That's money out of our pocket because we're paying somebody to write for a grant. And then, some districts, it's pitting districts against each other. What happens when you have a district that doesn't have a strong grant writer? That's not fair. What happens if a district can't afford to have somebody spend their time writing a grant? I think if the state wants to do something, they should just do it and stop with this grant nonsense.
And there's also the other side of it, that's the practical side, that the money for this program is going to come from our taxpayers as well as other taxpayers, and the chances of our students seeing anything from that money is zero. So yes, I agree this is not something that we would support. Does everyone kind of agree?
No, they disagree, they don't like it.
That's going to be her fun for 17 hours. Okay, sorry. Yes.
It's an opposed.
Number 7 is social media. This bill established a statewide youth mental health and social media campaign to promote public awareness of the impacts of social media usage on mental health. The campaign, led by the Commissioner of Health, Commissioner of Education, Commissioner of Mental Health, and Director of the Office of Information Technology Services, will educate the public on the negative effects of social media, promote awareness of research and resources, and encourage healthy social media behaviors and alternative methods of self-expression. Additionally, the bill requires the incorporation of a social media usage component into the course of instruction for our students from kindergarten through 12th grade, covering similar educational topics. It has been in committee since January 2024 and is locally sponsored by Assemblywoman Wallace. Companion Senate Bill S0762 has no local sponsor and is also in committee. That's a mouthful. I'm not sure if this is 100% necessary at this level.
This is interesting. I actually had a conversation with Monica Wallace in my role at ECASB, and she's really wondering why ECASB hasn't picked this up and supported it. Honestly, when I read it, I think, oh, you want to mandate another class. You want to mandate how we teach another class.
Yeah,
I think it's taking away local control. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have merit and that it would be great to be able to talk to kids about social media, but I think that we do that in a number of ways already, and I don't think we need to have a class, and I don't think we need to put our resources into a mandated program. Let us do it locally the way we want to do it. And that's
the way I'm reading this is going to be a top-down approach, and I think that districts need to be able to respond if they're having a problem with social media to the social media problem they're having in their district. If it's top-down, there's no way it can cover every part of the state, and so what may be very beneficial for Yonkers may not be at all beneficial for us. What this bill has really taught me that we have an awful lot of commissioners in New York State.
Yeah. So, because it takes away our local control, I would say I would be opposed to this.
The big part that lost me on when it said kindergarten through. Why are we talking to kindergartners about social media?
They're not supposed to be on it until you're 13, right?
And I did like the beginning part of it where it talked about programs and stuff, because I would consider that like sad or mad programs about drunk driving. I think the state, the country as a whole, should be treating that like they did driving while you're drunk and talking about social media. You know, the commercial, this is your brain on drugs. This is your brain on social media. But in schools like this, they lost me at the end.
So are we?
But so we can get back to our, like, just the scope.
So are we generally a no for it now? That's how I view it. Yeah. Opposed, I apologize. Yeah. We have enough problem in education with like top down, one size fits all, shove everyone in a package.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, and that's because we may have different issues that Rochester may.
The state knows it doesn't work. That's why they started the whole Blue Ribbon Commission. They're trying to figure out new ways around. Yeah. So I mean, like, why would we start a class?
But just so you know, the state did not start the Blue Ribbon Commission.
Where'd that come from?
That came from educators and was given to SED.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Lisa, listening.
Now, number 8, Jane, is that for this or is that for the committee?
That's just like asking for any particular stories or things that our district might want to share, to say these are the reasons why we feel this way about student mental health, teacher staffing shortages, electric buses, and foundation aid formula and state aid issues. Like, how have these issues specifically impacted Iroquois that we want to share so that legislators at this, who attend this meeting will hear our story and say, wow, I had no idea that by doing this, we had this impact, this positive or negative impact at Iroquois. So do we have any stories specifically that we want to share? And I don't know where those would come from. Probably our administrators could say, please say this.
Probably the best way to address this and not eat up a lot of time, because I can probably tell you a story of each one, would be whoever's going to be there. I can meet with them and go over it with them of the stories we have.
So I should meet with Doug. Doug.
All right.
Actually, maybe Heather, because Heather actually agreed to be one of the speakers at the legislative breakfast. So on student mental health, she's going to be talking about. So that might be, that's really probably where, give us a story on student mental health that Heather can share.
Sorry, Heather, you have to meet with Doug. Apologize. Okay.
I think she knows a lot of them already from what she does, but have it back, I'll give you more.
Before we go to the superintendent report, and Doug has his 13 seconds, I want to thank the board members. I'm enjoying that this board discussion is becoming the bulk of our meeting, and we're having discussions and we're like bouncing different things around. I want to see that continue. I really think that's where we need to go. And I'm just going to throw out one last thing, is there any kind of an open time? Is there anything anyone wants to share? Anything they saw in the school? Anything from a committee they went on? Because any that type of things that they would.
Everything's great in Marilla. I was at the PTO meeting today and spoke with Amy Stanfield, so things are going good there. I sorry, I'm getting tired. No. I'm added to her communications, to the staff and also to the community, so I'm getting live updates from there, but everything's good in Marilla. And I really love their new flagpole. I know it's newer,
thank you.
But it looks really sharp. So.
The one thing that I think is kind of cool, it just kind of dawned on me yesterday, obviously my daughter's a cheerleader and she was at the cheerleading competition and they took third, but what I think is really cool, and that is cool, is that their coach is a former student at Iroquois who graduated in 2022. And she is doing, as a young student and a young coach, is doing a phenomenal job. Not because they took third, just because how the team, the relationship, the interaction. And she graduated not that long ago. She was a cheerleader. She comes from here. She's going to college right now. And that's a student who's really doing outstanding, and giving, kind of coming back home. So I just want to point that out.
I have not had the opportunity to attend one of the PTO meetings for the II, but all of the reports I'm getting back are that they are going like gangbusters. Very active PTO, and I'm excited to hear that because that makes me feel like we've got a community that's, well, at the beginning when we first started discussing reopening the II, there was some resistance, but I think that they have come together and are really pushing to make sure that we have the best opportunities in all ways for our students in the II. So I'm really happy to see that, despite disagreements about whether we should have opened that building again or not, that they're doing so much good work for the students in that building. So I'm really excited to see that.
They had a fabulous color run, and pumpkin lighting's coming up.
Yep. Yeah, that's great to see.
Did you get that fabulous fun?
Yeah, cute. Okay.
May?
Doug, go.
All right. Open public communications. I don't have anything ongoing right now, so recognition. I wanted to recognize the support of the Middle School Association for orienteering, but the students took care of that for me. I wanted to recognize Judy for the Save Club and everything she's doing, because they got another grant of $500, but the SROs took care of that for me. So that leaves me to School Board Recognition Month is October, and so I want to take a moment to express my gratitude and, unwavering dedication, commitment that you guys, I should say me, you guys have to the schools. I mean, you're here, you show up, you go to events, you know what's going on. So your hard work and thoughtful leadership really have a profound impact on the students and the Iroquois as a whole, staff, the entire community. We did have a small token for you, or we were going to have a small token for you, but I took it out of the budget. No, we ordered it 3 weeks ago, and it's supposed to show up Friday. So this is your enticement to find out what it is by coming on the 28th of October, because we're told by the mail we should have it then.
Sorry.
And it was 3 weeks ago, so we apologize. It was just so big, they had to get another semi. But thank you for all you do. I'm sure everyone in the community that's watching right now is saying the same thing. That's all I have.
Recognition of guests regarding agenda items. Do we have any guests?
We do not.
Okay. We're going to move to number 10, discussion of agenda items 12.01 through 24.07. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the agenda items?
I'd like to thank the town of Marilla and Alma for their donations of $24,500.
Absolutely, supporting our SRO program.
Yeah,
Great
supporting
program.
the SRO program, and I really love the update the SROs gave today. It was very, very thorough. So, thank you, Marilla and Alma.
I just want to jump in, and we got some new folks joining us here at Iroquois. Drew Braun is going to be a counselor in the intermediate building. Patrick Christie, he's kind of been with us as a building-based sub. He's going to be sliding into a position as a teacher assistant in the high school. Jessica Schenik is joining us as a bus driver. Andrew Shearer is joining us as a bus attendant. We have Tara Marie Voigt, who's a laborer out at Wales, joining us, and Robin White Thompson, who's joining us as a nurse at Marilla. So welcoming all of them to Iroquois.
And we will have to talk later because you missed Walter for Walter Wednesdays, the Labrador that's coming in.
Has he been fingerprinted?
He's been
But I don't think
he's been
he's
paw
not on the
printed.
payroll, so.
Paw printed. He has all the right certifications.
Well, John doesn't realize that, but he is on the payroll. I think he works for like biscuits or something, but.
I have one thing, too. Item number 24.05 is the external audit, which the audit committee met last month. Thank you, Jane Sullivan, for being on that committee. And we went through the year-end, year 23-24 financials. And the good news is there were no significant findings. There's no corrective actions that need to be taken. So thank you to the business office for all they do, and Karen Ludowski, our treasurer, and preparing those statements for us.
Hindsight is 20/20. If I had realized how nice that committee was, I would have joined it 9 years ago.
It is a nice
It was
committee.
actually really it was neat, and I was super excited to realize that a lot of the things that they talked about, I actually understood. You know, like it was, yeah. It only took me 9 years. There you go.
Okay, we're going to move to 11, the consensus agenda. The basic purpose of the consent agenda is to act upon routine matters in expeditious manner. Items placed on the consent agenda are determined by the board president and vice president in cooperation with the superintendent, and are those which are considered common to the operation of the district and normally require no special board discussion or debate. Board members have the ability and the responsibility of reviewing the consent agenda ahead of time. A board member may request that any item on the consent agenda be removed and inserted in an appropriate place on the regular agenda. Okay, so moving on, is there a request to withdraw any item from the agenda?
No.
Okay. Is there a request to add any item? Okay, I would like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Heather. All in favor? So 5 of us here are in favor. There are no nays, sorry. Okay. And then 12, the superintendent, no, I don't have to do that. Hold on.
Last page.
Yeah, I guess.
Executive.
Well, yes. Do we have any guests to recognize that are not on the agenda? Okay. Possible executive session. We do have a need. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
You do need to state why.
Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or manners leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. 5 yeas and no nos. So we're going to go into executive session, and we come back. We're only going to come back to adjourn the meeting. We are returning from executive session. I would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second by Todd, first by Jane. All in favor? 5 in favor and none opposed. We are adjourned.